The wipers fought against the storm as Ethan sped through the nearly empty streets. Beside him, the young mother whispered prayers, her voice trembling with fear. She couldn't have been older than 28, wearing a thin sweater that clung to her skin. The little boy's head rested on her shoulder, his face ghostly pale. "What's his name?" Ethan asked, keeping his eyes on the road. "Liam," she said softly. "He's all I have." Her words hit him harder than she realized. All I have. Ethan used to say the same thing about his company, his empire, but sitting next to her now, he realized how hollow that sounded. "Do you have any family here?" he asked gently. She shook her head. "No, we moved here last year. I work nights at a diner. He got sick 2 days ago, but the clinic closed early. I didn't have anyone else to call." Her voice cracked at the end. Ethan could tell she was fighting back tears, not for herself, but for her son. That kind of love, pure, selfless, was something money could never buy. The car's heater filled the silence for a while. Ethan glanced at Liam again. The boy's breathing was shallow, sweat beading on his forehead despite the chill. Panic began to stir in Ethan's chest. He pressed harder on the gas. "We'll make it," he said. "Just hold on." She nodded, holding Liam tighter. "Thank you, sir." "You don't even know us, but you stopped." Ethan's throat tightened. No one should have to beg for help. They reached the hospital in under 10 minutes, tires screeching as he pulled up to the emergency entrance. Ethan jumped out first, rushing to open her door. Nurses ran toward them as she stumbled inside with her son in her arms. He stood there, rain soaking his suit, watching her disappear behind the sliding doors. Something inside him shifted. For years, he'd believed success meant control, keeping emotions locked away, focusing only on logic and numbers. But tonight, in a storm he never planned to face, a stranger's pain had broken through his walls. He waited in the lobby for hours, still drenched, ignoring the curious stares. When the doctor finally came out, Ethan felt his heart stop. "Are you family?" the doctor asked. Ethan hesitated. I just helped them get here." The doctor smiled faintly. "Then you saved that boy's life. A few more minutes and it might have been too late." Ethan exhaled slowly, relief flooding his chest. For the first time in years, he felt something warm, something real. He didn't even know her name, yet her pain had changed him. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the hospital windows. The storm had passed, but Ethan hadn't left. He sat quietly in the waiting area, still in his wet clothes, a cup of cold coffee beside him. When the woman finally came out, she looked cleaner, calmer, but her eyes were red from crying. She stopped when she saw him, surprise flickering across her face. You stayed?" she asked softly. Ethan stood up, offering a tired smile. "Just wanted to make sure he was okay." Her lips trembled as she whispered, "He's stable now. The doctor said he'll recover. You saved him." He shook his head. "You did. You never gave up." Tears filled her eyes again. "I don't even know your name." "Ethan," he said. "Ethan Cole." Her eyes widened slightly. "The Ethan Cole? From Cole Technologies?" He sighed. "Yeah, guilty." For a moment, she just stared at him, this powerful man who'd stopped in the rain for a stranger. Then she smiled, weak but genuine. "I'm Grace, and that's Liam. We owe you everything." Ethan felt something stir deep inside him, something he hadn't felt in years, connection. "You don't owe me anything," he said quietly. "Just promise me you'll never stop fighting for him." "He's lucky to have you." She nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I promise." As Ethan turned to leave, Liam's small voice called out from the hospital bed behind her. "Mister?" Ethan stopped and looked back. "Thank you," the boy whispered. That single word hit him harder than any deal, any accolade, any headline. It wasn't gratitude, it was innocence, pure and honest. Weeks later, Ethan returned to his office, but things weren't the same. The empty mansion no longer felt like home. He reached out to local hospitals, funding emergency care programs for low-income families. Quietly, he named one of the new pediatric wings the Liam Foundation. He never told Grace. He didn't need to. Some kindnesses were meant to live silently, like ripples in a still pond. And every time it rained, Ethan would find himself watching the drops slide down his window, remembering that night, the night a soaked girl knocked on his car door and reminded, A lonely man, what it meant to be human. The night was cold, the kind that pressed against your chest and made you feel the weight of every lonely memory. The rain poured endlessly, washing the streets of New York in silver streaks. Inside a black luxury car, Ethan Cole, a 36-year-old CEO of a billion-dollar tech company, sat in silence. His eyes stared at the road, but his mind drifted elsewhere, to the empty mansion waiting for him, the unspoken apologies to a father he'd lost too soon, and the family he never had. He had everything money could buy: success, fame, respect. Yet every night, when the world went quiet, the emptiness in his chest echoed louder than any thunder outside. Tonight he was driving aimlessly through the rain, no destination, just motion to silence his thoughts. As he slowed at a red light, he saw a figure running from the sidewalk. At first, he thought it was just another pedestrian trying to escape the downpour. But then he saw her, soaked from head to toe, her hair clinging to her face, clutching something tightly against her chest. She stopped right in front of his car, her eyes wide with desperation. Before he could react, she knocked on the window, her trembling hand leaving a trail of raindrops on the glass. Ethan hesitated for a moment. People rarely approached his car, and never like this. Then her voice came through the rain, breaking and raw. "Please, sir, my child is sick. I need help, please." Ethan froze. The sincerity in her voice pierced through the cold detachment he'd built over the years. He lowered the window, and she stepped closer. In her arms was a little boy, maybe 4 or 5 years old, his face pale and his lips trembling. "He's burning with fever," she said, tears mixing with the rain. "I don't have a car. The hospital's 3 miles away. Please, can you help me?" For a moment, Ethan's old instincts whispered. The world was full of scams. He'd been taught. But one look at the boy, whose small hand hung limply at his side, crushed every doubt. Without another word, Ethan unlocked the doors. "Get in," he said softly. The woman slid inside, clutching her son tightly. The smell of rain and fear filled the car. Ethan hit the accelerator, his heart pounding faster than it had in years. He didn't know who she was, or why fate had crossed their paths that night, but something told him this wasn't just about saving a child. It was about saving himself, too.